Last year, at the last quarter of the year, we started looking at interesting, exciting, enthusiastic areas of our sector, of our lives, to see how much impact had been made on the people. We're doing a stock taking of a kind. We knew what we had experienced, but we felt we should go a step further to know what Nigerians were thinking, how they had perceived all that happened from January up until that time. Many people gave kudos to the government in many areas. Some of them had some knocks, and one of the areas where the knocks were coming from different parts of the country was in the area of power. So from last year, we began to take a look at power, at the power sector in Nigeria. We went back into history from the 1920s, we came to the 1970s, and then it was time for the 2000s, and we talked about the unbundling, the monopoly, about how far we had come and where we are now. We also could not overemphasize the importance of electricity in our daily lives. From charging our phones, to watching our program Weekend Deal every weekend, to enjoying programs on the NTA for our children, for the entire family. So we know that power is important, not just to us and to you, but indeed to Nigeria's growth and development. And that's why today we're looking at another area of power. We're looking at the rural areas. What's been happening with them? There's talk about Kafanchan. We also bring you something from Imeko. Have you heard of that place? It's in Abuja in Ogun State. So all these are more we'll bring for you on Weekend Deal today as we take an introspective look at the power sector in Nigeria. Promise us you'll stay. My name is Thelma Obaza. Welcome to Weekend Deal. You're watching Weekend Deal. We're going to take a very introspective look at the power sector in Nigeria. It's been quite an interesting and engaging journey from the 1920s up till now. We know we've talked about it in the past, but this time, watch how Francis details the areas that we'll focus on the program today. Meanwhile, we're expecting a very important guest.
Once upon a time in Nigeria, whenever there will be power outage, rest assured the public will be notified of areas to be affected and at what time. But today, while some Nigerians cannot boast of uninterrupted power supply for 1 week, others acknowledge the fact that there has been an improvement in power supply in some areas across the country.
People are not interested in technicalities. Oh, NEC is saying this, Genco, Disco, all of those things are technical stuff. Let's have more power supply. Let's have it. We are ready to pay. But I don't think this year, I don't think there's going to be an improvement. Because improvement does not come when you don't change your strategies.
Very poor. We ought to have moved beyond where we are. Always going up, falling down. There's no stability. And where there's no stability, how do we grow our SMEs? How do we now invite foreign investors to come to the country and do business with us? How will company grow?
In 2013, two segments of Nigeria's power sector, generation and distribution, were privatized to resolve the challenges associated with the initial monopoly of government in power generation, transmission and distribution. However, privatization only changed dimensions of the challenges, and power supply remains largely inadequate, unaffordable and unreliable in the country.
We ought to have solved our energy problem a long time ago. But the process that led to the privatization of the power sector has been fraught with a lot of irregularities. People that were not even ready for businesses were being hurriedly brought in. And the whole process was marred with a lot of irregularities. It became an issue of political patronage. Those in offices were looking at ways in which they could help their political associates, some even family members. I know of a particular disco, that's a distribution company. I wouldn't mention the name, that was being run by a family. And these are people that do not have any kind of idea or any kind of knowledge of running a 21st century energy sector.
Since the rural areas are far from the electricity grid and most currently do not have power, then the possibility of employing solar energy for the supply of electricity to the rural communities cannot be overemphasized.
You must make use of the energy that is peculiar to your own environment. We have sun. Why can't we make use of the solar energy? We allow the Chinese to come here and invest in that solar energy. A lot of people will go to China, buy solar panel, buy battery, and they power their homes. I know of a lot of homes that are off the grid, or they're not using electricity from all these discos. They have their independent source of energy, which is solar. So why can't government come in fully to invest in this alternative source of energy?
At Kershi over there, here in Abuja, you have the Naseni solar, I call it a factory. They have some little things they are doing right now, trying to build and re-engineered those technologies and come up. But some few persons here and there are also trying to do it privately. But when there is more incentives, maybe tax relief and so on for some of these people, they'll blow it out and they'll begin to manufacture these things themselves. And when we can manufacture enough, you cannot use, but that's just one aspect of solar, which is solar PV. We have other solar systems and maybe other kind of renewables. The hydros, we have much more rivers we can dam. Right, even here in Abuja, we have a lot of small streams that you can dam. They are all renewables and so on and so forth, many different types. So all that, we can maximize them.
In addressing the energy needs of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari few years back directed that there should be a nationwide mass metering program for electricity consumers in the country. This is an effort by the federal government to put an end to estimated billing for electricity.
Those who do not want the system to succeed, those who do not want Nigerians, the ordinary man on the street, to benefit from the good intention of the president, they are still floating, they are still there. Same corrupt people. What stopped Nigeria, every household in Nigeria, from having meters? We can even produce, in fact, a company in Anambra State had even offered to produce meter locally. But they insisted they want to import meters from China. China brought in meters that were not even strong enough to withstand our power system in Nigeria.
Despite all the different strategies of reform embarked on by government, the energy sector is still not efficient or reliable. Therefore, the power sector must move towards emerging smart grid technology.
How do we have a national solution to power problem when we still import generators? And those importing generators are the big names in government. Why would they not sabotage our discos? Why would they not sabotage our general supply of electricity? Why would they not do that?
People are ready to buy. So you are not producing enough, you are not distributing enough, you are not. So we have a lot of issues out there. And politics is also inside of it. It will be so unfortunate if we have to continue sleeping in darkness, if we have to continue. In fact, there are places where they don't even have meters. And people just go to say, this is what you have consumed, when they are not sure what they have consumed. All of these are there. And I don't think we should go through that route again in 2023.
Our focus on Weekend Deal today will be on expectations for the power sector in 2023.
It is when we do some authentic research and investigation that we bring to the fore some information that hitherto was unknown by many people, that meters were brought in from China and they did not stand the test of the Nigerian times, such that some households don't have meters till date. And then we keep importing generators. I mean, how does that speak of our plans to progress and take Nigeria to the next level on the international stage? We need to work together for the growth and progress of this country. and it's all hands on deck in an honest way, working and supporting each other. When we went to Imeko and spoke with Sunday Ademi, we asked him to do some investigation for us, and it was quite touching to hear that he did say that in spite of the fact that they are near Benin Republic, and they hardly have light, there's light in Benin Republic 24/7, and Nigeria is the giant. Doesn't speak, the way we want people to hear about us. We did go out to the streets, to speak with Nigerians to talk about their expectations for the power sector in 2023. What did it tell us? You'd love to see this. Power generation in Nigeria dates back to 1886, when 2 generating sets were installed to serve the then colony of Lagos. Fast forward to 1972, when the National Electric Power Authority, NEPA, was formed. And in 2005, after the Power Sector Reform Act, the monopoly of NEPA was transferred to the Power Holding Company of Nigeria, PHCN.
We try to change things to see whether we can better what we have before, from the old one to the new one. The same thing that happened to us in the first place will equally happen to us, because we still have the same people who ran the first one. What we did was just to change the name, but we didn't change the system.
From NEPA to PHCN and other then private companies, I think it's a great deal for Nigeria. Yes, I wouldn't say there is no impact. There's impact, but the truth of the matter is the power sector in Nigeria is one of the most corrupt systems.
The unbundling of PHCN by the federal government resulted in 11 distribution companies, 6 generating companies, and a transmission company. The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, which also saw the creation of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission as an independent regulator. Research shows that now there are 23 power generating plants connected to the national grid, with a capacity to generate 11,165.4 megawatts.
When I came to this Abuja, I was living in one estate they call Abacha Estate. That should be early 80s. Before they take light, they will announce to us that they want to take light. They will tell you this is when they will take it, this is when they will return it. And it happens the same way they said it. But these days, what we do is, if at all we see the light, it's by the grace of God.
Growing up, I do see light. Frequently, steady. During good last time, was light, but not that steady per se. Okay, since 2014, 2015 till now, the light issue is not steady. We are not seeing the light.
While some Nigerians argue that this has translated to increased electricity supply, some differ, and perhaps the incessant complaints informed the federal government's restructuring of 5 electricity distribution companies, which was jointly announced by the Bureau of Public Enterprise as well as the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NEC, in July 2022.
Like now, I stay in a 4-bedroom flat, a bungalow. I used to pay estimated bill of 7,000 naira a month. They increased it to 14,000 naira. They now increased it to 27,000. They now increased it to 48,000 naira within a period of 2 months. I expect them that if you pay for your light, if you pay for your power, you should have it.
In a related development, when President Muhammadu Buhari approved 7 industrial parks in different parts of Nigeria, specialized power was given impetus. So far, Benin City has commissioned a 40 megawatt independent power plant dedicated to providing power to Benin Industrial Enterprise Park and some local communities.
Most of the power generated are being consumed by these industries. And if they have been able to generate their own power by themselves, and they have been given the license, the opportunity to, I think it will reduce the pressure on the national grid.
Many Nigerians have increased expectations about electricity distribution and provision in 2023. From Imeko, had we not seen with our own eyes, perhaps some of us will not begin to comprehend what is happening in some other parts where we are not present at. The dreams are there, the innovation are there, waiting to be birthed. We need power. What does it profit a great country like ours to progress in so many dimensions, and we don't have constant power 24/7? We need to work on that assiduously. We'll take a break on Weekend Deal. We urge you to keep your messages coming in. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. We're taking an introspective look at the power sector, and we journeyed way back into Nigeria's history. We looked at what was happening in the power sector at that time, and we're continuing the process to what we're experiencing today. Let me take a few messages because we asked you to send in your messages. So let's read what's happening in Boko and Benue State, where Bella Samuel has reached us from. Most households are on estimated billing. JED increased the bill twice last year from 12,000 and above, irrespective of the number of points that you have. And I'm talking about even for those who live in a single room. Okay, from Taraba State, we'll tell you what is happening. Okay, Ali Shaba from Zaria says, good talk, good discussion, great explanations and analysis. We need to know from those in authority what exactly is happening at this time. One more message from Taraba State. Takum says, we have been enjoying power for over a year now. Interesting. Different strokes, different folks. When we listened to that feature from Imeko Afon, they did say that about 53% of Nigerians are enjoying electricity. That leaves 47% of people we say are over 200 million in number. Let's go to Asaba in Delta State, where Susan and her team went out and spoke to people, and we get a mirage of comments from those who complain about issues about transformer and have not had anything resolved for the last 4 years. From Asaba, let us see what's happening over there.
In the year 2022, unstable electricity supply was a major issue in Asaba, Sapele, Ugeli, and other parts of Delta State.
The state still invested much in the power sector, assisting the BDC, that's Benin Distribution Company, with installation of transformers, installation of high tension and low tension lines connecting various communities.
At the beginning of the year 2022, the electricity supply in my area wasn't good at all. A lot of fluctuation and low voltage, but towards June, July, then to the end of 2022, it was a lot better.
We solely at night, they only give us light. In the daytime, we doesn't see light.
The power supply in my area has been very, very poor.
Bini Electricity Distribution PLC is responsible for retail distribution of electricity in Delta State. But with the unsteady power supply by the distribution company, Deltans now rely on solar energy and generators as alternative power supply to meet basic household and industrial needs.
Now there is no light, we are using generator. So whenever they bring light, we'll change over, we'll start using light.
No light now, we're using diesel. A diesel is 850 naira or to 900 per liter. So you can imagine how it will be.
Residents of Delta State complained of the lingering debate on estimated billing, high tariff, and in some cases, they are compelled to bear the cost of maintenance of transformers, which are charges not expected to be borne by them.
When you do recharge, at times it's not up to the amount you bought in terms of the tariff. A lot of fluctuation in the tariff. Then at times, before you know, you just get cut short from electricity without any reasonable reason. What I was told is when you buy more, you get more tariff. So what we did is we increased the tariff for the business premises. For the house, we didn't really do anything.
The rate of the bill they are bringing to us is on the outside, and we don't see the lights that we are paying for.
It is we in the area that repairs our transformer. We don't. If you go to NEPA, they will tell you they've heard, but they will abandon you and your wall to yourself. It is when we gather money, we repair it. At times, if we don't have money to repair the transformer, it can stay for 2 or 3 months on service, unrepaired. We've gone to NEPA to complain about this challenge. We have complained for them for the past 4 years. We've done this complaint. They promise us that they are going to come to rectify it. They also promise us that they've written their head office in Benin, that the head office will give them go ahead to bring conductor to do some work there. For the past 4 years till now, we are still waiting for NEPA to come and do that work. They've not done it.
We will extend the power to more unserved persons, and we plan to also maybe expand this IPP, independent power plant, maybe to other areas apart from Asaba, Aziz.
For a better power supply in the nation, all the stakeholders, especially distribution companies, have to do their part. In view of the current situation of increase in price of petroleum products used in powering generating sets, Deltans are looking forward for regular power supply in this year 2023 with high expectations.
From Asaba, you make a complaint to people who should care, and they can leave you waiting for as long as 48 months. Imagine how many business prospects someone or many people would have come up with during that time. Rather, you have to keep going to complain, day in, day out, and still little or nothing is done. But it was quite encouraging to hear from the permanent secretary that a lot more, especially talking about independent power projects, will be addressed in Delta State this year. Let's take some of your messages. Thank you for keeping them coming in. This is coming from Godwin from Gwagwalada. He says, we don't know what NEC is doing with regard to the tariff. AEDC increased their tariff late last year without announcement, with over 30% increase. Then, where is the ease of doing business in Nigeria? And when we're talking about the cost of power is growing astronomically. Wow, interesting. Really, where's the ease of doing power? Okay, Omeyo Sunday from Nsuka says, why is it that the prepaid meter is in short supply? I've applied for it number of times, and it seems to be an exercise in futility. What is responsible for this? Perhaps when our guest comes, we'll get a bit more information. In Taraba State, Gembu precisely, we know electricity is not available, but generator and diesel engine is what we get light from. It is not okay that we get comfortable with solar and using generator, especially as the cost of fuel is on the increase daily, and sometimes it is even scarce. I will take one more message. This is from Usman Ofaji from Lokoja. He says, we are army signals in Lokoja, and this also happens over there. There's one phase that has light for 24 hours, while the other line, we have light on it once every week. The funniest thing is that we are all paying the same bill, which is this estimated billing. I can't imagine this inhumane act by AEDC. Perhaps they will take time to prepare answers to these challenges that are surfacing and that we are sharing here. We go to Port Harcourt. There have been some wins, but they are still facing some challenges with regards to power.
The power sector plays a crucial role in the economic development of any nation. In Nigeria, the sector has continued to receive a boost, even though they are yet to reach their target of providing reliable power supply.
PACN, they have the responsibility to every house, because from there they are able to access their funds as in bills.
If there is light, they are giving you bill, and you can be able to stand to pay your bill. But if you are not seeing light and the bill is rising every day, my dear, it's not easy for everybody this time.
Transmission is one important area in the sector that the government needs to prioritize in its agenda and policy direction. The nation's socio-economic development would remain elusive without improvement in the conditions of energy access, supply, and use in 2023. In Rivers State, stakeholders and energy experts anticipate an improvement in the available power grid, which faces incessant fluctuations.
Our power supply has been hovering around 4,500, particularly before the privatization in 2013. Today, utilization has been below 4,000 megawatts. And that is to say, we are operating within 25 to 30% utilization. So we need an improvement, at least up to 40% utilization.
We need them to be open, and be fair to people. Especially some of us that have spent money paying for meters and we're not seeing the meters. Some people who have bought these meters are saying that the way it runs now, it's something else. We are being overbilled. So these things are things we should look into.
The power sector policy, directives, and timelines so far have been faced with a mixed reaction from consumers, and successes and challenges are being recorded in the state. Hence, a critical look at the power supply within every sector of the economy becomes imperative.
Like Aparadink Road, where I was staying, when we park in there, that place is supposed to be federal line. Like before, it's 19 units when you buy like 1,000 or something, but now it's either 11 units. It cannot carry again.
All the posts bad, wires bad. Give us estimated, give us meter.
Okay, as of 2022, the light situation at Chumokoro was very poor. It wasn't satisfactory at all. I'm looking forward for a better light this year, 2023. Even if not 100% stability, but at least we should be able to sleep with light at night.
Okay, in 2022, I recommend the power supply with how they helped me, because staying at home to work from home was easy as ABCD. I didn't have the need to go on my gen.
We are paying bill, but there is no light. I'm telling you the truth. From One.
Rivers State is well noted as an oil and industrial state. A critical look at power supply in the sector continues to be on the front burner.
Mini grids can solve the problem of our industrial parks. Like in River State here, we have our industrial estate, industrial environment up there at Transamadi. If we have a power plant that can service that entire area, I think the reliability of power supply there will be improved. Though at the moment we have a Transamadi gas plant, which is not actually connected to the grid.
With the yearnings for improved power supply, metering system and other facilities in the new year, it behoves on government, private sector and stakeholders to improve and sustain power generation, transmission and supply in Nigeria.
Has it come to the point where we are now saying Nigeria that where there's life, there's hope with regards to power? But let me take one more message and then we'll meet our guest. He is here indeed. I discovered that within Makadi in Benue State, we're being charged different tariffs. I discovered this from the Power Holding Office, Power Holding Company of Nigeria office. They said the longer your hours of power supply, the higher you pay. Finally, is it correct to increase tariff without informing customers? Is it that no one cares about us at all? Teso and Gila reached out for Makadi in Benue State. Let's meet and greet our guest. He's the Managing Director and the Chief Executive Officer of Niger Delta Power Holding Company in Nigeria. Good morning, sir. And he's also an electric energy law specialist. He's very comfortable talking about the power sector in Nigeria. We welcome you to Weekend Deal.
Good morning. Good morning, viewers.
It's great to have you. When we were listening to some of the new documentaries that we got from different parts of the country, one of the respondents said in the 1980s in Abuja here, that before they take power, before we have a power outage, there's an announcement. He said you live in Abuja estate, then there's an announcement that will take power at so and so time, or there will be power outage and will restore it so and so time. And they kept exactly to what the information that they shared with people. Many of us can't even remember such a thing happening, but we do know that growing up, we hardly had generator sets in our homes. But today, you hardly find a house without 1, 2, some 3 generator sets. Take us through that time, up to where we are now, from the 1980s to now.
Thank you very much. Very interesting question. I also grew up in Nigeria.
You did?
So, before end of 2013, the electric power sector was predominantly government-owned, NEPA and then Power Holding Company of Nigeria. So government was providing the electricity to Nigerians. Let me put it that way. But now it's in private hands, essentially for efficiency, for and all of that. But if we want to be sincere to ourselves as Nigerians, we grew up in the era of up NEPA. What does that mean? We get excited that moment, that 1 hour we have electricity. In fact, I grew up I had my early years in a place in Lagos where every part of that part of Lagos will roar once we have like up NEPA, because it comes briefly and for a few hours and it goes, and we lament and all that. But all that is changing. Yes, the truth is, I'm also in Nigeria, and the truth must be told. We are not where we should be, but all hands are on deck to ensure that we should reach where we are going. There's been some increase in our generation capacity. There's a lot of work is being done at the transmission end. A lot of work is being done at distribution end. Yes, we had a bit of shaking when the new owners came, but you expect that. You transited from government service to private sector service. There will be issues that would emerge, and you need time. You need to study that time to resolve that. And at the same time, there was also a transition in government. A new government also came in. The government also needed time to understand the issues, and we're resolving them. Just shortly before I came in, I was on the phone with Honorable Minister of Power. We don't sleep. On the phone, because there's a force majeure on the pipeline leading to that supplies gas to our Odupani power plant. It was the Honorable Minister of Power himself is on top of it, and he called me. He woke me up this morning. I was already on top of it in the night with the gas suppliers, calling that, and they worked all through the night to fix the pipeline in a very dangerous terrain.
It's very encouraging to hear this. I'm sure Nigerians, this is kind of a gist that we like to hear, that all hands are on deck. Right. But, we had features from all over Nigeria. We've gone to Imeko in Ogun State. We're going to go to Kafanchan in Kaduna State. We've gone to Asaba in Delta State. We've gone to Port Harcourt in River State. Perhaps if we have time, we'll go to Benin in Edo State. We do know that there have been concerted efforts, and most or all of the arrangements have been brought to the fore to improve power supply. We know. But if everybody is as committed as they say they are, Nigerians have the opinion that we ought not to be where we are. It's not even wobbling now. It's like we know we used to say up NEPA. We were saying up NEPA for, you didn't leave us in darkness for more than 3-4 hours. Now, sometimes after power comes after 3-4 days, there's even no energy for the young children to jump up to say, PHCN. They are tired and exhausted. You say, okay, it's here. How long? Can we watch a program and all of that? Are all hands really on deck? Why are we getting comfortable using generator sets? They say there is solar energy coming in the rural areas. We went to the rural areas. They say they're not seeing it. We heard about 1 million houses in 3 or 4 states. We went to the houses. We saw the people. Alas, what they are saying is different from what we hear is happening. Maybe perhaps we in the urban areas. What is the gap? What's happening? And what is limiting us from having 24-hour electricity supply? Let's even say 15 hours. Can we even say 10 consistently, every part of Nigeria enjoying that?
No, the power sector is quite dynamic. I understand the feelings of Nigeria. I'm also a Nigerian. Where I live, when I got home last night, there was no
power.
I had to contend with that. And unfortunately, I live in an estate where you are not allowed to bring in your generators. So I don't have generators.
But luckily, the night was cool yesterday because I also slept without power.
So it happens. I disagree that the situation now is worse than it was in the 80s and the 90s. I was already an adult in the 90s. Of course, I graduated in 1990. So we know what the situation was. That's an improvement. The only thing is we are not where we should be. We've set up, the whole structure has been reformed, and it's going through different reviews all the time to make sure we get where we are going. We have the regulator that oversees the sector. They do not rest. We have the ministry that's giving the policy direction to the sector. As a matter of fact, in fact, sometimes I sympathize with the Honorable Minister because we have all the sector players, at least on the government side, the CEOs and all that. We meet, we have constant meetings with the minister, at least the power sector meeting morning till night, till evening, bi-weekly. We meet with minister, resolving problems, dealing with problems.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now coming to where we should be, we are working on that. Generation. Yes, we do not have, some will argue with you that we need 50,000 megawatts, 100,000 megawatts and all that. As of today, grid connected to minus other areas where you have the IOCs providing electricity for the communities. But grid connected, you have well over 13,000 megawatts. Where in 1999, what was it? I can give you the figures here. In 1999, it was just 5,800.
But someone has talked about the over-dependence on the grid itself.
Yes.
Which makes it sometimes need rest.
Yes, the grid, but you need the grid. Okay, you generate power. People need to understand how this is done. You generate power at let me put it in terms of quantity, huge quantity of power. I mean, for one of your better expression, and for people to understand, in a power station, that bulk you generate, you just can't plug it into the local areas. You need a high tension, what you call high tension, and that's a transmission line, to carry it over a long distance. And that is what happens. And so you need the grid. We generate power in Odupani, in Calabar, that's Calabar, Cross River State. We generate power in Aloji, in Abia State. We generate in Olongshogo, in Ogun State. These things have to get to the rest part of the country. You need the grid. You generate power in Jeba, Kanji. You need the grid to make sure there is no generation plant in Abuja. There is no generation plant in Kano. There is no generation plant in Meduguri. You need the grid to get the power.
Can I ask you something,
yes.
Managing Director, sir?
Yes,
what has happened in 2022 with regard to the power sector that gave you joy? and that can give optimism to Nigerians who are watching you, because many of us cannot comprehend.
Yeah, I can tell you confidently that in terms of power supply in Nigeria, and if we need to also be honest with ourselves, we finished quite strong. There was an tremendous
When you say
improvement.
strong, you mean in terms of power generation, distribution?
Generation, distribution. See, it's a value. We say the phrase value chain. Yeah, we are all interconnected. So even if I have generation and it doesn't get to end users, it has not. So from what got to end users, the hours are being shortened. The hours of darkness are being shortened on daily basis. We are not there yet, but I can tell you some parts, and that's where you have different tariff bands.
Okay.
Some people get up to 18 hours every day.
Yes, we had some respondents say that.
Yes, you get up to 18 hours every day, you pay more.
But too few though.
Yeah.
Too few.
Yeah,
our progress report is not as exciting as it ought to be.
Let me tell you, the distribution companies are also working very hard. If you get to a coding school, for instance, I'm aware that they have reduced their loss level to 20%.
Tell us what that means in layman's terms.
In layman's terms is, look, I receive power and receive energy. The energies, I don't lose them either through the lines.
Okay.
I don't lose them either through theft, which is a major issue for distribution companies, and I don't lose collection for the power so much. Before they took over, some of these places were over 60% in terms of losses. What we call technical, commercial, and collection losses. They were over 60%. They have to make investment to reduce these losses, and they are trying. Because what's the point? You receive power from generation companies, and the power doesn't get to end users. A lot of them are lost through the lines, lost through theft, and even when they supply to end users, you and I, a lot of people, they don't pay. But
somebody or a group of people have to take responsibility for that. It's not our fault. For those of us who pay, we want to see electricity.
You are correct. The regulator is on top of that. Everybody, we are all to blame. Yeah, the regulator is on top of that. With the cane on top of the distribution company managers, and of course, in recent time, you've seen a lot of changes in distribution companies management.
Yes, there was some restructuring last year, about 5.
It's all part of the effort to make sure that we have electricity improvement in that sector. And the distribution companies themselves are doing a whole lot of work to also minimize electricity theft, which is a lot. They're working hard to reduce that. They're also doing
but do we have a model? What is the ideal we're watching and working to get to? And do we have a time span? So are we just going to be wobbling, trying?
If you dimension it, it's straightforward.
Okay.
It's just human, factor. That's the truth.
Okay.
It's just human factor.
That's limiting us, or that's progressing us?
No, that's limiting us. Okay. If you look at it, generation, yes, because generation, we operate generation. We're operating in a fenced area. So the extent of interference is less. Yeah. So other than gas coming in, which faces their issue, like I said, my gas supplier to Dukbani, our power plant in Calabar, the gas supply pipeline was ruptured. They have not told us the reason yet. It could be some acts of vandals and all that, right?
Which is very painful. I understand.
Yeah. Then 2, there is transmission. In fact, sometimes we intervene in transmission. I've seen Nigerians, criminals, go to court these high tension towers, big towers.
No sense of patriotism at all.
No sense of patriotism. So
but what about the customer service? We have an issue in a Delta state. We heard it earlier, where somebody said they went to make a complaint for over 4 years, Every time they go, someone will say they will handle it, someone will say they will handle it. Is customer service not as important as efficient provision of power at all levels, generation, transmission, distribution? Why will somebody see a group of people taking time out of their business, coming to tell you the same thing for 4 years, and you're not moved?
I will be surprised.
Do they have the same commitment as you do?
I don't run distribution, yeah, but I will be shocked, I will be surprised if somebody has been making complaints and the distribution company.
We aired it.
Yeah.
It was aired this morning.
Because I know I am from Delta State. I know that where maybe somebody will argue that, oh, because you're a CEO, they will listen to you. But I know even in my village they have complaints.
No, but tell us what a customer service look should be like in terms of the way they react to customer complaints.
The response time should be very fast. That's why I said
1 hour, 2 hours.
I don't run distribution, so I don't know their setup that much, but I know that the regulator is watching over them, and then of course the regulator routinely holds consumers forum in different states, in different locations. Routinely they do that to see, so that if you have complaint and the regulator receives the complaint of customers and they move that. Even when people complain to me, I forward it to the CEO of the organization. I know Abuja here, people complain to because they don't know. Some people can't distinguish between what I do and what Abuja Disco Distribution Company does. So when they come to me, I don't say, oh no, this is not my area. I just forward it to Ade. And Ade immediately, bro, he would just say, bro.
Ade is the MD of AEC.
Yes. He will say, bro, I will deal with it immediately, ASAP. And
we really need him to come and explain things to those in the FCT.
Immediately he gets his point. I will be on top of it.
He's very proactive.
Yes.
Is it? Okay. But tell us this. It may not be your field, but being a Nigerian and being someone who has played a very huge role in the power sector for quite a bit, tell us, this estimated billing, is it not worrisome?
Yeah,
when there's been a mandate by the president to say, give us meters, prepaid meters. What limits us from getting prepaid meters nationwide?
And the regulator has actually, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission,
NEC,
has actually prescribed that. No estimated billing.
It's going on. In fact, it's vibrantly going on.
And I'm sure if the report to the regulator will take that up with the distribution.
Let me be very direct with you now. Let me ask you something. If we find that it is thriving, because it is thriving in areas where we live and visit, as in it's a regular thing, they come, they collect, and they fight you and they cut your light if you don't want to pay the estimated billing, and it goes up almost every 3 to 4 months. What ought we to do as concerned Nigeria citizens?
To report to the regulator.
That's NEC?
Yes.
Okay.
They have offices nationwide.
We haven't taken our feature from Kafanchan in Kaduna. We have aired Port Harcourt, we have aired Asaba. We have aired both of them from Rivers and Delta State. But we saw Kafanchan. We spoke with people. Some say there's been an improvement. Some say there hasn't been. Yes, sir, there have been improvements. But we want to celebrate more. Because when we went to Imeko, what touched me, Imeko Afon in Ogun State, a man said, how is it that the giant of Africa is sharing, we're so close to Benin Republic. The giant, we don't have light, sometimes once, twice every week. Well, this little country has this Benin Republic, they have light 24/7.
Really?
But we have heard that.
Has he been to Benin Republic?
He said they are neighbors.
Yeah, okay.
And that he has had to increase. He supplies water with his borehole. He has had to increase the amount of money he sells water per bucket to his neighbors because what he's paying for the water to pump and all. It's on the high and high. But let's go to Kafanchan. Let's go to Kafanchan in Kaduna State, where Timothy Framan, did some research, and he brings this for us.
Kafanchan, the indigenous home of the Fanswan people, is a multilingual settlement in Jama'a local government area of Kaduna State. Known for her agricultural prowess, Kafanchan boasts of its historic rail infrastructure and the Matsurga waterfall, a blend of beauty and tranquility, where it gained its popularity internationally. A common sight to behold is the humongous electricity infrastructure in and around the metropolitan area.
For the past 5 years, Angwamusa have been staying without electrification, without electricity, without power supply. We've been in darkness. Even now that I'm talking to you, that I have not been lighting Angwamusa.
With respect to where I reside and also do my business, I think the Kaduna electricity is trying.
You cannot even rate it to say it's even fair. The rate of lighting now, you see, they are given a supply of about maybe 2-3 hours, and that's all.
We have a supply of about 14 hours to 18 hours daily.
Then generally the supply is not encouraging, and that is taking a toll on our economy.
Kafanchan is home to numerous businesses, a large population of residents, and an average temperature of 25 degrees Celsius, hence the need for power. While there's an unprecedented overdependence on the national grid, other unpopular sources of power are utilized by both residents and business owners.
They used to bring like 15,000 in a month, and I find it sometimes difficult to meet up with the payment. So because of that, I decided to consult some people about this solar. And one of the person told me that solar is good. So I decided to go on it. As a phone repairer, this my solar can carry my deep freezer, my soldering iron, and my rework station that I'm using to repair phones, and other charging aspect. It can carry it comfortable.
I'm into hospitality that requires the usage of light, of electricity. I can tell you for free that I have to get alternative source of power supply, because in a week you don't get up to 12 hours supply of light. Thereby I have to rely solely on generator and other sources of power, of generating power.
We have the national grid, which I said the supply is not encouraging. A lot of people depend on their generator, and of course you know the cost of diesel, the cost of fuel has gone above the sky, and because most people depend on these sources of power supply, of course cost of services have also increased.
Blessed with numerous natural endowments, prospects abound in Kafanchan to explore alternative sources of energy, such as a hydroelectricity generation capability if the Matsarga waterfall will be gainfully utilized.
And I'm also aware that the Kaduna State government is working on generating power around the Kudenda area. I can't remember the capacity, but I know that is almost at the completion stage. And very soon, I'm sure by the time that is completed also, is going to provide a lot of relief, especially to our industries.
Already, the community, I saw a write-up that they are intending not to come out to vote unless they have a transformer.
Inspired the failed attempts to get the transmission and distribution units in Kafanchan to comment on the current realities peculiar to the local government, residents remain confident with positive expectations for 2023.
From Kafanchan there, Timothy Framan was sharing with us what's happening there. And we did hear that some people say for 5 years there's been no electricity in their area, such that they are exhausted with complaining and being hopeful they want results. Earlier I did say that Republic of Benin Republic is a small country. Indeed it isn't, but perhaps I'm speaking comparatively with the giants, which is Nigeria. MD sir,
yes,
is it fair, is it something we can comprehend that a community has not had power for 5 years because of maybe transformer issues? Is it comprehensible?
It's really unfortunate, but that rests squarely at the doorsteps of Kaduna electricity distribution. I want to thank NTA for bringing this to public knowledge, and I'm sure Kaduna Electricity Distribution Company is watching this, and I'm sure they will address that.
Staff of some of these power companies, what ought they to do? Where can they seek recourse?
Yeah, let them report to the regulator.
The regulator.
Yes.
NEC
has regional offices at least.
I hope there's the customer service unit.
Yes.
Because this report, somebody can be going to an office for many weeks, months, and still not meeting the person that's supposed to handle a particular issue.
I am very, very confident that NEC has a department that is in charge of consumer affairs.
Okay, this person reaching us from Kafanchan, Musa, he says, say it on the mountain. I reside in Kaduna. My name is Musa. My village is Kafanchan. We've not had power for 5 years. I think we already had that. We already had that earlier. Okay. Give us your final words. Tell Nigerians how optimistic they need to be for this year 2023 with all the hands on deck working assiduously to provide electricity.
Our major problem in electricity has been the last mile, that's distribution end.
Okay.
Government is doing a whole lot. You heard of the Siemens, the presidential power.
We've spoken with one of them.
They have started receiving the equipment. They've started installing. A lot is happening there. The CBN intervention to the discos, because all this again is about money, and a lot of work is being done. The government again through the central bank has brought out also intervention in mass metering. So this mass metering would also help to mitigate this issue of estimated billing. Because when you have meter, yes. So a lot is being done, and they are beginning to take shape. Very soon, Nigerians will begin to see the impact of these government interventions and everything that we are doing. We at NGPAC, we are doing a whole lot of work in terms of distribution substations, and all that. We're electrifying.
You're not resting on your oars.
Yes, we are not resting on our oars.
And you don't intend to?
We don't intend to. I just told you, I hardly...
This year is going to be electrifying with the positive impact that is coming from all the corridors of power generation, power transmission, and power distribution. Good news. It's been great chatting with you. Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Niger Delta Power Holding Company. Every effort in the right direction is in the best interest of Nigeria. Do what is right. Don't vandalize our property. Everybody is working assiduously to ensure that we have power in Nigeria for many hours, and it continues to get better. But don't do what is wrong. God bless Nigeria. Bye-bye.